I think this starts to get a little bit more complicated when you get to the surfaces like roofs. So if we go to a roof, if we go to our second floor, or actually maybe let's go to a 3D view. So with this view here, let me actually change this to be our hidden line.
So you would do the joists too, right? You would tell which joists have to be removed.
We could, yeah. Yeah. And it's simply just marking it to be demolished, right? So some of this stuff kind of gets a little bit more complicated, right? So if we have a roof here, and our roof is at our level 1 in this case, and I'm gonna make this a little bit overly complicated. So if we had a roof here, and we have, let's just say let's say a 600 millimeter overhang. And is this in millimeters or is in, yeah, okay, it is in millimeters. So we have a 600 millimeter overhang, and we want to add a new roof onto this. So this is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, why are we not at our proper level? All these walls at, I think they're all at level 1. Sweet. Let's grab all these and make these level 0. Let's make these go up to level 1. It's going to delete my window, but let's change that to be level 0, 600. So we have a roof here. We have this kind of complex roof at level 1, and we want to join a new roof in. So the first step I would go about doing this is modeling the new roof. I think that's the first thing that we want to do. We want to figure out what that new roof is. And we take that same kind of layering approach with our roofs and floor systems as well. So we'll often model sheathing and exterior material, like so sheathing and shingles, but we don't model the structure as part of a roof assembly. And part of that just gives us a lot of control over the layering. So if we have this roof here, maybe what we want to do is we want to have an additional hip roof. What I'm going to do is we'll mark this as 600, and I don't know exactly how this roof is going to look, but you know, if we were going to mash these two roofs together, this is going to get really ugly, so to speak. But that's kind of the inherent nature of a lot of these projects. Like if we actually wanted to do this, you know, it's not out of the realm. But the one thing you're going to notice, we're going to have to demo part of that existing roof. Or maybe we don't, but the likelihood is we probably are, right? And so what I will do in this case is this would be our existing roof. So let's mark this as existing. But we actually don't want to demo the whole roof. We're only demoing where they intersect. And so the first thing I would do in this case is I'm actually going to join these roofs together. Modify, we're going to go to join. And now where they join, we actually see a line now. And what I'll do now is I'll use our reference plane, and they need to be in a different floor plan here. Let's go to level 1. And then I'm going to increase our view range here so I can see the top of the roof. So let's make this 4,000. And I need to do that again because I didn't do the view depth. With view range, my one suggestion for everybody is, I keep clicking enter. In a floor plan, your cut plane and view depth have to be, sorry, your top plane, no, sorry. Your bottom plane and your view depth have to be the same in floor plan. Your view depth and top plane have to be the same in ceiling plans. So they don't have to be, but my recommendation is if you make them the same, you won't have errors. So just floor plans, your bottom and your view depth, you want to change both those items at the same time. So right now they're 0, so that doesn't really matter, but if you had a situation where you had an issue, that would be potentially something to try. So we're going to click RP. So I'm going to grab these intersection lines with my reference planes. RP. Yeah, reference plane, yeah. So now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to grab this original roof. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it to the same place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark one half to be demolished. So we're going to go Edit. And now we're going to use these reference planes to grab onto as our part. So we're basically going to demolish this corner. And we're going to turn off our slope on these lines. And so this part right here we just drew, that's going to be existing to be demolished in new construction. And then we just need to do the same with the existing roof. But we need to do the reverse. So we're just going to draw the lines but keep the majority of the other half. So I know this is kind of a lot of work, so to speak, just to kind of go through this whole exercise, and it's just mainly you just watching me up here. But floors and roofs start to get a lot more complicated because when you look at this in 3D, we have now, actually, you know what, let's go to our sheet because that's why we made that. So now you can kind of see what's going on. We have this whole corner, we're demoing part of that corner, and then we're adding the new roof on. So it actually does communicate really neatly now with all these different parts. And the other trick for the existing is you can actually go in here and you can join the different parts together. If you join these parts together, it'll remove that line so you can't see, or it should remove that line. It doesn't want to remove that line. But theoretically, it will remove that line. It won't show it. The other thing we could do is if it's really bothering you that line's there, we can just make that line invisible. And then you can't really see where that intersection's happening. So essentially when you're doing floors, roofs, ceilings, you actually have to break the existing element apart. And then you're essentially keeping half and demoing half. So it gets a little bit more complicated. And if you look back at this project we have here, so this is a project we're working on. Where do I want to go? Sheets. Let's go to construction. So what we end up setting up is a series of demo and floor plan sheets. Did my thing? Oh, it's not still. Okay. So in here, we actually have some view settings that changed a little bit, but let me just do one thing here. I need to make. We're in the process of actually changing our material composition and how stuff works, and also adding the foreground background pattern. Yeah, we'll leave that on actually. So that should remove that pattern there. So the cool thing in the floor plans is, see this part out here, this is actually a floor. So this is a deck that we're demoing on the existing building. So you can actually see that the different walls that are being demoed, there's actually a lot of the existing walls being demoed. And so, you know, by looking through this, a contractor can quickly see what is actually being demoed, what is not. And then we have a tagging system that indicates demolish wall, demolish floor, demolish opening. We also have some that say, there's something about contractor to temporarily support stuff. So we have some notes about, you know, temporary support. So we don't do like drawing in our actual temp walls because it's just the contractor is going to do it however they want. So like I don't really need to be involved with that. But then when you look at the proposed, you don't see any of that stuff there. So anyways, that's kind of the purpose of all this. It's a nice way to communicate information. So now with that information, you can see where all those new openings are, and you can see, so in our case, you can see where the existing wall stops and the new wall starts. So I think what we've done in another project is I think we've actually added, we've kept the walls not overridden, but we've actually used a filter. And I don't know if anyone's talked about filters at all, but we use a lot of filters instead of visibility graphics. So the key is with filters is instead of saying, I want to change the color of a wall, I can say, if the wall is brick, I want to change the color. So I can specifically dive down into a very specific parameter and change the color of something based on that parameter. So filters are in the same place as visibility graphics. So if you go to your visibility graphics here, you'll see when you open up this, you actually have this part over here called filters. So one filter we use is sections. If a section doesn't have a sheet number, it does not show up on the page. So if we're drawing something, and we sometimes will leave there's an enable filter section here. So sometimes we leave enable filter off, so we just don't have it on. But then when we're getting near the end of construction drawings, people will often throw a section in to see what's going on, to figure out how to detail something. But often what happens is, just inherently we forget that we put that there, and then you go to print a PDF, and you maybe don't go through all the drawings, but then you miss there's a section there. So we have a filter that basically says if the section's not on a sheet, don't show the section tag. And so, again, that's kind of a cool thing with filters. So we can...
Section tag like on your plan.
Yeah. So it won't show on... If this view template is applied, it will not show that section. The other thing that we do is we actually have... we call finishing drawings. And so this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but basically we've gotten a lot of feedback from contractors and the cities, and they just don't want all of our drawings. Like they frankly just want floor plans, elevations, maybe one or probably two building sections, a couple details. Like they don't want 40, 50, 100 pages of drawings. They just want like 20. And so what we do now is we have a set called finishing, and we take extra building sections, we take extra details, and we put them in there, and we deliver those just to the contractor. So the contractor has them, and we do a lot very specifically for certain things. So like we'll have one we'll just call stairs. So we'll do a call out of the stairs, we'll do elevations, cross sections through the stairs. So when the contractor is getting the stairs spec'd, and they say, hey, can we get some dimensions on the stairs? We actually just send them the drawing. Or in that case, they've already have the drawing. So that's why we have this finishing thing in here. So if we call the sheets AF, so architectural finishing. And so if we have the AF tag as the sheet number, it'll automatically not show those section tags on our core construction drawings. Filters are very cool. It's like a whole nother world. So
when you say AF sheets, you mean like sheet numbering?
Correct.
As AF.
Okay. Yeah. So here's all our finishing sheets.
Oh, yeah.
And we have one of our cool ones that we've been doing. I don't know if I have it. I think I do have it set up in this project. I don't have it set up in this project. We have this structural sheet just called framing details. And we actually have a blown up 3D of our structural, but only showing major beams and columns. So we actually just give that to the contractors, and we tag all the beams and columns so they can visually see like the exoskeleton of like the main structural elements within a building. We do on our structural drawings though, we do have 3Ds. So this is what our structural looks like. So we have a 3D over here that corresponds with all the beams and columns and all that kind of stuff. This drawing looks really weird because there's actually no load-bearing beams in the middle of the building. They actually have the floor joists clear span. So it looks a little bit weird that there's nothing in the middle. But you can see the other beams on the outside. So, and then we have obviously a corresponding drawing here. So, yeah. So anyways, that's a little bit about phasing. Let me actually just show you the elevations because they're interesting to look at as well. But phasing in demo, it's definitely a really cool way of documenting. So, this is really hard to look at. Yeah, you can see all the reference planes we have in this project. But you can see like this roof is coming off. These windows are being demolished. We actually need to create a new opening here for some new windows. So if the wall specifically just has to be demolished, you can see that. Doors, windows. We're removing like a section of the roof. So if you actually look on the side view, you can see this front section of this roof is coming off. And so anyways, it's kind of a nice way to really articulate in many different forms to the contractor that what's going on in this project. So yeah, that's kind of phasing and demo stuff. So I think next week we'll talk a little bit more about design options. I I go through phases where we don't use design options at all. I'll go through phases where we use them, but it's a really cool tool. I'll show you where it is, but we won't talk about it today. Let me go back here. So design options are under view, or then manage design options right here. And so we'll talk a little bit how that works next time, but design options are a really cool way of saying, I want to do 2 different versions of this roof, not just one. And so, actually, I'll do a quick little thing here. It won't take very long. I changed my mind. So this roof right here, we actually didn't adjust the new roof not intersecting here. So let's just quickly fix that. And we have this here. And I'm going to turn off the slope on these lines. And so if I want to do some design options for this roof, and I want to try some different roof profiles, what we can do up here is we can go to our Manage Design Options. We're going to create a new option set. So what I like to do is rename these right away because I think it's confusing with what they are. So we're going to call this Roof Options. And so each option set is like a category. And then each option is an iteration of that. So this is where this gets complicated. So to start using options, you need to go into the options. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually copy this roof into the option because this we're calling option 1. So before I do that though, if we go down here, design options actually live at the bottom as well, down here. So instead of going up here to the top to say what option you're in, you can actually just select it down here. So I can select option 1, and you can see the whole building grays out, and I actually can't click anything. So it's almost like creating a model within a model. So it kind of isolates the option, and you're only controlling those elements in the option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to Main Model. I'm going to click on this roof. I'm going to click this Cut button. I'm going to go back into option 1, and I'm going to go to my Modify, Paste into Same Place. And so now that's here. So if I go to option 2, there's no roof. If I go to option 1, we have our option roof. So I'm going to paste this a second time because we've done all that work for all the lines, so I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to paste this in the same place. We're going to click Edit Footprint, and I'm going to turn off my Define Slope right here. And we'll just do it like that. So now we have this roof style. So we have option 1, and we have option 2. So that's design options. So I'll talk a little bit more about design options, but that's the basics on how it's used. So, and then if you want to go back into your main model and edit the whole building, you go into here. But you'll notice when you're in the main model, you can't click on the actual element you drew. In order to click on the element you drew, you have to go back into here and find the option. We can click this little button right beside here, and we can go here to this. We can click option 2. We can click Make Primary, and it's going to switch that out to be the one that shows in the model. So you can switch between which option you're actually showing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week, but that's kind of a brief introduction to design options. So any questions about phasing design options? If we would have a test right now, who would do okay on that? Bad question. All right. Cool. So I'll leave that there for today. Certainly can answer any questions about studio stuff right now. If you want to leave, that's fine too. Yeah.